Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Kathy. Welcome to Tip Tuesday. Today I'm going to be showing you a really quick video on what I do with my Close to My Heart idea books and how I bind them together so that I can look at them later. And I just love our catalog just because there's so many ideas in it. So I like to keep mine, but instead of having each book sort of separately, I like to try and I put them together and I bind them together. So I'm going to show you how I do that. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to give you ideas of how you can do the same thing with other scrapbooking projects. So what I'm going to be doing is creating a cover and a back for these books. And then I take them to my local Staples and get them to put a binding in them. So I'm going to show you how I do that. So the book measures 9 by 10.5. So the first thing you're going to need for something like this is you're going to need a piece of chipboard, and you like these are on the back of a lot of paper pads. In this case, I took them from when Close to My Heart sells us bulk paper. They usually put one of these chipboard pieces in between so that it keeps the paper kind of sturdy and when it's being shipped. So I just use those for that. So I've cut this down. You want this piece, the chipboard piece needs to be exact size of what you're covering. So in this case it's 9 by 10.5. And then I pick the paper that I want to cover the chipboard piece with. So in this case it's the Laughing Lola. And I always pick a piece of paper that is in one of the idea books that I'm covering. So it's kind of a paper pack from that one of those idea books. So, and then what I'm going to be doing is I cut this one 11 by 11.5, and then I'm going to be scoring it so that it's scored down to, like, the inner square is going to be 9 by 10.5, which is the same as the chipboard piece. So I'm going to just score it now. So in this case, I want the inners, it needs to be 9 inches this way. So I'm going to take an inch off each side. So I'm going to score it at 10 inches and then the 1 inch mark. And then I know the mark between those two is 9 inches, which is the size of one side of the chipboard piece. And this one I only have 1/2 inch on each side because I need it to be 10.5 and it's 11.5. So I'm going to be scoring it at 11 and 1/2 inch. And then that way I know that it's 10.5 inches in between those marks. So the next thing I do, just to make it easier, is I actually fold down each of the score lines along each of the score lines. And then the next thing I need to do is to adhere the chipboard piece right in that middle square. So for anything like this where I want it to last a really long time and I need the adhesive to be really strong, I use this, I call it red liner tape. I'm not sure if there's another name for it, but I've seen it as red liner tape, so that's what I call it. And in this case I'm just going to be putting a generous amount of the tape around the whole outside and then a little bit in the middle. So I'll just come back when I'm done and I'll show you how I put it together. And then I'm going to be placing that into that center kind of rectangle there. So I just line it up with my score lines. And you don't have to be, well, you want to be somewhat precise so that when you go to fold it down, it's kind of straight edges, but it's okay. Mine's a little bit off, so it's going to be fine though. So then what I do in this, at this next step is where you see this little rectangle where it's scored. So there's a score line here and then there's a score line there. I just cut basically a triangle out of each corner so that I think that's called miter, you miter the corners, so that when you fold down the edges, it just kind of lays down a little bit better. So that's what you do there. And then in this case I want to put down my shorter ends first and then my wider end after. So again, I'm using the red liner tape and I'm going to be fairly generous with this tape because I want the edges to stay down nice. And what I recommend you do is to put these edges down first, and then you can put the adhesive on the next layer. And you just want to be really, when you go to put your edges down, you just want to be really, you want to make sure they're really tight against the chipboard piece. And in this side, because there's a whole inch around the outside, I'm just going to put like a piece of adhesive right close to the chipboard, and then I put one on the edge, the outside edge, so that you get really tight seams on your project. And I do tend to put the middle down first. I find if you put the middle down first and then go outwards from there, it tends to be a bit straighter. Sometimes if you put down this edge and then you start to, you know, press it down, you know, it can go off center. So it's better if you put down the middle first. I think this is such a great way to use up any chipboard that you have like kind of laying around, or, you know, that people don't use anymore, and you can recycle it this way, just because it creates such a sturdy cover. So that is going to be the front or the back cover. So the next thing I want to do is I've cut down coordinating cardstock. In this case I do it slightly less than the dimensions of what you're covering. So I go in basically 1/4 inch on each side. So it was 9 by 10.5, so I did 8 3/4 by 10 1/4, and then I'm going to be adhering this down on the inside so that it covers up all of your foldovers. Okay, so I've finished doing these are the insides of the covers, and then I chose the same pattern paper for the back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these books. So basically what I do is I put one on the top and the other one on the bottom, and I'm just going to take them to my local Staples, and they will bind the one seam together. What they actually do is they trim off like a very small piece of the ends of the book so that I can actually flip the pages, and then they add in a binding system. So I'm going to be showing you a few that I've already done. Okay, this is actually the first one that I ever did. And I should mention that this was not my idea. I got this idea from another consultant, and I think I saw it when I went to my first convention after I joined Close to My Heart. And then as soon as I came home, I made one with the idea books that I had. So the first one I ever did was in 2006. So when I first did these books, I was really decorating the front, which I actually really like. But you do have to be careful because this one's already getting dirty and some of the ends are coming up. So basically now I tend not to kind of decorate the front as much, but I do like that look. It's just not practical for me and how I use them. So anyway, so this is the first one that I did, and there's, you know, I think three idea books in here. So that's the first one I want to show you. The second one, I love this one. Again, I was still decorating them, and this was a different binding. So I must admit, I actually should show you that. So in the first one, the binding is one of these ones where I don't know what the name of that is specifically, but I have to say I much prefer the spiral binding. It's way easier to use. So whenever I go now, I specifically ask for the spiral binding. So this is from 2007. The idea books, and back then we had 3 idea books a year, so it just worked out that I put all 3 of them for each of the years. We have changed the size of our idea book over the years, so, and how many we do a year, so I had to adapt as we did. So this is from 2000, starting 2010. So this is where I just started to just put the paper on here instead, and I just picked like fun paper that I liked from one of the idea books. And this is the last one that I did. This is using the Flirty paper pack, and in this case I did sort of add, instead of just putting this paper, I did add a little bit of edged here, which is fine. And then I have, I think I might have 4 idea books in this one, because this is the last year that we had this size of idea book, so I had to put them all into one. And then this is going to be my next one. So again, there's going to be 3 idea books in here, and we have just learned that Close to My Heart is going to be going to a 1-year catalog, and then we're going to have a couple of seasonal catalogs throughout the year, So this will be the last year that it's this size again. They're changing the size of our idea book again. So from this, like once the new idea book starts and forward, I will be having a different size yet again. So I put 3 idea books in here. So I just wanted to let you know, this is such a great idea. Like, you could make these front covers for any kind of mini album that you wanted to make. They're so easy, and it just adds that sturdiness to your, it would add your sturdiness to your album, or in this case, the idea books. But if you have magazines or special books that you have that you want to hold on to, but you want to put them together so it's just more practical than having loose kind of magazines and stuff everywhere, I would totally recommend doing something like this. It's just a fun kind of scrapbooking thing that you can do, but it's really simple, and it's a way to use up some of your product. So I hope that this tip was helpful for you, and thank you so much for watching, and until next time, happy crafting. Thanks. Bye-bye.